Hey guys, my name is mmrené and welcome to this slice/displace tutorial. We're going to take a look at how we can create something like this with the Cinema 4D and maybe optimizing it in After Effects. And I'm going to set it up with the MoGraph module, and I think it makes sense because then it's going to be more easy to, create different variations like this little, wave. Before making this cube with color and all, I'm going to start off a bit more simple and create something like what Bird created, this slice of a letter, in this case the W. And then we're going to use the same setup to create something a little bit more complex like this. Now, if you haven't checked out these pieces, you gotta check them out. I've put the link in the descriptions below. They are really good. So I'm going to head into Cinema 4D and just prepare your object you want to slice. I want to slice this logo here, and it doesn't matter what you want to slice, and it doesn't have to be editable. So get your object in there and start away by creating a null. Whoops. And I'm just going to, I just got a new wacom and I can't really control it at the moment, so that's why it's going to be a little bit weird. So rename the null. I'm just going to call it main, and then select the extrude or whatever object you have, and then create an instance of that. Now when you have created that, you can hide the null, so the original will be gone and we'll only have this extrude instance. I'm just going to call it instance E. Alright, so now we want to have a cube, and we want to put that as a child of a MoGraph cloner. And the idea is that now it should cover the whole logo or whatever your object is you want to slice. But before doing that, we want to add in a effector plane and then rotate it 45 degrees each clone. Boom, like that. And now we have to play around to get the settings now. More clones equals more slices. So as you saw, we talked about, we're going to start with Bird example, so you don't have to have a lot of slices in the start. So I'm going to start in with the count of 5. But of course all of this is customizable, so keep in mind we can change that later. And now I'm just going to play around until the boxes here is covering my object. So that includes the distance from each clone, the count of the clone, but it also includes the size of each clone. Boom, there we have it. It doesn't have to be that precise. Now we're going to repeat the task as we did before, because we want an instance of this as well. So put that inside a cloner by marking it and press Alt G, and I'm just going to call this slice box name. Put that below and then add in, select the cloner and then add in an instance of that as well. Then we can hide the null objects. If we didn't do that, we will have both objects, as you can see here. So we can just hide the null object here, and now we will have it as a reference, and it is going to make more sense later. Okay, so now we're going to add in a bool. You can do this up here, bool, and then drop in both our instances. And make sure you have render instances checked off, and make sure you have high quality ticked off. I'm just going to do this because it seems like it is generating some errors for me, some bugs or whatever. So now I just can't remember what the settings are. I think it's, yep, it is A intersects B. And now we have some errors like here. This is caused by the box not being, cube not being tall enough. So you can just increase the tallness right here. Alright. Now duplicate this boolean by selecting and pressing Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and then instead take, let me see, what is it we need? We need the opposite. I actually think I need to have the E at the top and the instance at below. So duplicate that instead, and then have there, A without B. Alright, so now we have both. And now, in order to slice this up, I told you we're going to use MoGraph, so we can use the fracture object to get these booleans inside of MoGraph. So hold on Alt and create a fracture object for each. Now doing that is a fast way of getting it inside to MoGraph, but in the next setup it will make sense while we choose the fracture object. But hold on. Okay, so the next step is to create an effector, plane effector, and we're going to change the position. Now the position has to be the same values on the X and the Y values, so if we want to move it 100 centimeters on the Y, it also has to be 100 centimeters on the X, otherwise it's going to look really dumb. Alright, so I actually had weird setting here, so I'm just going to go back to the cube and just see what can I do to get this gone. And I see I can just go like that, and now it's gone. Alright, now create a fall off an linear and just rotate that -90 degrees. There we are. And also fall off 100%. Alright, now duplicate that plane and put it as a child of the first plane, and put that inside the effector that doesn't have an effector yet. So that will be, in my case, will be this effector. Now put it inside here, and I'm going to go in, and whatever value I have, I'm just going to negative that, both values of course. Alright, so why did I put it as a child? Because then the plane will have the same coordination as this plane above, and we can now just pull around and we'll see we can separate it by doing this. Now this is a really cool setup, I think, because we can easily add in, if we select both fracture objects, we can easily add in a delay effector. And I think, okay, we only need the position, so untick scale and rotation, and press play, and now we can just get back to our plane, and you'll have this really smooth animation. Oh, you know, as always, we can get the spring. That's always cool. Whoops, so move around the plane. And also the nice way of doing it in this way is you can come back and just see in bird examples it definitely didn't have that many cuts, so we can just start out by decreasing the count maybe to 2 or 3 maybe, and then increase the distance and just really play around until we get something we like. So press play again and slice. Maybe I think it's too much with 100, so I will maybe go for maybe 50 instead. 50 centimeters. This is too much for me, but you know, you get the effect. Alright, so how can we use this setup to create a cut like this awesome example here? Not that, more like this. Let me show you. I'm just going to select all and copy that into a new document. And I'm going to delete the delay effector because it's going to cause some playback issues. And instead of the logo right here, I want a cube instead. So I'm just going to delete those and add in a cube. And the size was 20 centimeters. That's the extrude setting, as you can see here. So I'm just going to put that in too. And let's see, where did I put the cube? Up here. It's supposed to be a child of the E main. Maybe I should rename it, but it's okay. Now the cloner instance of the E misses the extrude because it's gone, so select both and replace that with the new cube instead. And now we have a slice cube. But for that look, it definitely had a lot of more extra slices, so you know, nice. An easy way to customize this, so increase the count, maybe, I don't know if this is too much, but let's see, and decrease the distance from each copy. And maybe play around with the size of the cube. Or, you know, you can add in, we definitely need that actually, add in random. And we don't want to affect the position, we want to affect one scale, or maybe two scales. The X and the Y can be edited. Nah, don't do that, only the X. Alright, so put that in here just to keep structure. And now we need to do some changes, because as we are affecting the plane here, we are affecting everything, and we don't want that. We want some of it to be affected and some of it not to be affected. So let's say if we do this, the inside is moving 100% and the outside is moving 100%. Maybe that should only be moving, I don't know, 3%. The way we can do that is go to the fracture settings, delete the plane number 1, and go to the both fracture settings and set the object as a explode segments and connect. Now each little cut will be its own object, and we can come back with the plane, and instead of having it as a linear fall off, we can have it as a sphere instead, and move it a bit below here. Let's just see how it, before doing that, rotate it 45 degrees and a fall off of 100%. Good. Let's see how we did. Oh, so now you can see we are moving it up here, and it's not being affected as before. Before, this would be all the way up at the corner here, you know, being some kind of just moving everything at once. But now we're only moving some of it instead. So obviously we want also to move this in the opposite direction. So create a copy of this again, and select and make it as child again, and come back to the effector settings. And of course we want the negative values to make it go the opposite direction. And then we want the fracture object the other fracture object to have with this setting. And now we have this. So as you can see, the sides here aren't affected, and that was the goal, but maybe it's looking a little bit too fake. So let's just increase the scale of both objects, and let's see what we have. Alright, so I don't like how it's moving in the middle. I think it should be randomly moved instead. So the way we're going to do that is randomly weight how much this plane effector should affect it. And the way you do that is by creating a random factor. Let's do both. Add in a random factor and then uncheck the position, but the weight transform should be affected. And come back to the fracture, and the random should be first, like this. And now it's randomly affecting the weight of the planes. So we can see that if we go back to the minimum and maximum. Alright, so now we are also saying that some of it shouldn't be affected at all. I'm just going to cancel that. It should all be affected. But let me just show you the difference. If we didn't have this, everything on the middle would be, moving evenly, because it's got 100% of the effect of the plane now, or the weight. So randomizing the weights, it will move, saying, okay, this object should have maybe 80% of the weights effector, they should only have 20, and now we're seeing the difference in the movement. And I would recommend adding in a delay effector, but we're going to do that later. Alright, so now we want our objects in there. Actually, let's just create a material. I'm going to create a luminance and get this dark gray as we saw in the example, maybe something like that. Whoops, I made it in the color. I should have done this in the luminance. Alright, so add this to the fracture. Both, we can hold down Control and drag it. So now both have it. And I want to use my extrude as instead of the letter, I'm just going to use my logo. So decrease the size of that, and I'm just going to move the planes away so we can see the triangle again. Let's have a render, it's perfect. And now I'm going to move the logo just a little bit out. It can't get out, so something like this instead. Alright, so when this moves up, some of it should be shown, and the way we can do that is adding in a random effector on both fractures. So add in motion graphics, motion graphics, then a random effector, and the only thing that should affect it is one direction, so no negative values, and then only what you want to affect is the set position, and we want it to affect at the same time with this sphere, so we can also create a fall off of this sphere and then put it here so it will move with it, and I can just move it so it doesn't have to be that precise. It's okay. Let's see how we did. Is some of the logo moving out? Okay, so by doing that, some of the did we do it? Let's just see. We can increase the size here of the set values. Yeah, some of the objects are moved back, so our logo will come out. We can also just increase it a bit more and move our logo just a little bit more in front. So some will overlap and some won't. All you have to do now is play around until you get a visible logo and you know something you like. I went ahead and did it, and I got this result. Now before finishing off, I'll show you how to create this color effect. You know, the blue stuff here. Let's do that in After Effects. So we're here in After Effects, and let's talk about how we can set it up with these colors. Okay, so create a new solid, and I want a grayish one. Then get the logo in there. Oh, the cuts of the slice, like that, and get a fill. Now in the example it was gray, so let's fill that with that dark gray. And let's reposition it. And the way you could achieve this is really easy by duplicating the cut here and go to the layer beneath and select another fill. In his example he had this bluish color, something like this, and then delay it a few seconds by holding down Alt, pressing page down. Let's see what we have. Alright, so that's kind of the effect. You could do, render a new scene out with random seeds, so you would have different cuts, or you could render out a new alpha matte with different stripes to get another look. There's just so many possibilities with this. I hope you found this useful. Enjoy. Check out mmrené for more stuff like this.